Ubisoft CEO, and I'm going to remove the power from him as an individual by saying his name wrong, Yves Guillemot.
Got him.
I'm pretty sure it's Yves Guillemot or Guillemot or whatever.
We'll show him.
He talked about how there are pretty much multiple confirmed Ubisoft game remakes in the works, especially Assassin's Creed. Now, this is something that Nate and I wanted to take a look at today because as Assassin's Creed fans, you know, and shills, as you will, like the two people who don't hate Assassin's Creed Shadows, so we're sellouts, we wanted to take a look at this and if these games actually need remakes or not, and the ones that are rumored to be getting them. If you enjoyed today's video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, let us know what you think in the comments down below. We also have a question of the day for you, which is, do you think that any Assassin's Creed games would benefit from remakes? And if so, which ones? Like, what would you want changed in them? What would you want updated? Do you actually trust modern Ubisoft with that? That's kind of our other question going into it. So Nate, first off, I think just to kind of address the elephant in the room other than you, I did want to say that the two remakes that are rumored right now are Assassin's Creed 1 and 4. Now, what's interesting about that, though, is that when Mirage was coming out, originally people said, okay, well, you know, the insiders and the leaks and stuff were pointing to that game actually having been a remake of AC1. You know, people didn't know Mirage was a thing. So at the time, everyone was thinking, oh, well, the thing in development right now is an AC1 remake. And then Mirage was teased, and people were like, oh, well, maybe they're still working on the AC1 remake. And at the time, they made comments basically that it wasn't even in development. They basically just straight up denied that AC1 remake was a thing. So now I'm kind of wondering, first off, in your opinion, what you think about that. And secondly, what you think about the fact that he continued and, you know, said in this whole interview that there were multiple remakes in progress, essentially. Like he had said, to kind of quote him, firstly, players can be excited about some remakes. So that's already confirming more than one when talking specifically about Assassin's Creed, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich. And he went on to talk about this, talking about there'll be experience variety. I think that's kind of addressing the whole criticism about, like, why is everything an RPG?
Why was this lied about at Mirage? You know, where they said, yeah, we're not actually developing any remakes of AC1. And then it turns out they are.
If they even are for that one.
They are supposedly doing it. I know it's kind of a rumor thing. My second part to this is, do we really even need remakes?
For what?
For any of them. Remakes of video games in general are something that should revamp something about it. Mm-hmm. Like, we want to revamp combat, we want to revamp graphics, we want to revamp gameplay, story elements, different things like that. But it kind of leaves the question of, unless it's something that's completely necessary, why remake anything at all?
Right, yeah.
Like, for example, Final Fantasy VII got remade. Well, they completely redesigned the entire game. It's like a brand new experience. It's not just the same game, but now better graphics. It's totally a completely different thing. So it's like, are you going to completely add something to Assassin's Creed 4? Or is it just going to be Assassin's Creed 4 with better graphics?
At which point it could just be a remaster.
Exactly.
It was actually with a Eurogamer interview, and I don't know how to say their names, but Jean-Luc Sala, who was the art director on AC Mirage, and also I believe Marc Alexis Cote, the other director, the game director, they were talking about Mirage, and I guess you could say that this was a political, like almost a lawyer speak, because the way that they said it was, that's not what we're doing. I'm fully dedicated to Mirage, and I can tell you we are not remaking AC1. So I guess you could say, like, well, they were just speaking for themselves.
Yeah.
But at the time, everybody took it as confirmation that the company just wasn't making it, mm-hmm. and Ubisoft never bothered to correct that ever. They just kind of let that rumor die. They were probably sick of the rumor anyway, mm-hmm. but at the same time, pretty much everybody, like, you look through Reddit threads and stuff, everybody took it as, okay, AC1's not getting one. But then the AC4 remake has been reportedly in development for a while, and there's been different confirmations of that from insiders and journalists and things like this. What's weird, though, to me about it is that AC4 was always neglected. And what I mean by that is post-launch. It got a launch on the 360 and PS3 generation, and it got a launch on the PS4 and Xbox One generation, along with the PC release. But it never got enhanced. It never got picked up and fixed up. It never got FPS boost. It never got like a resolution bump that I know of, at least. Like, it didn't really get anything that a lot of these other games got. Now, other games like AC3 Remaster have a lot of technical problems, but they're still like a revamp of the game, and they were re-released for modern hardware, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so my point that I'm getting to with AC4 that's weird to me is it feels like they tactically ignored it. Like almost like, well, why would we enhance this game if we're just going to remake it anyway? I guess to me, that's what comes off kind of weird, like questionable. Like, obviously you don't have to enhance the game. Like, once you release the game, it's out there. I guess you can choose to do so or not. But between them just ignoring that game, never giving it any of these bumps that the other ones got, even AC1 got like a full overhaul in terms of now you can play it in 4K and stuff on the series consoles, and I believe on the Xbox One X and stuff like that. I think it's kind of frustrating to me where it just feels like they've tactically ignored AC4 to create a thirst for it, because it was pretty much their only pirate game. Oh, well, Rogue. Yeah, Rogue has elements. It's not a pirate game.
Yeah.
You know? And then they released Skull and Bones, which no one cares about. So now it's like there's this thirst for AC4, and I feel like they purposely made the original version of it worse in order to create that. That's what bothers me about this. Like, oh, if the AC4 remake is real, which it's seeming more and more at least that one is, is that it feels like they purposely ignored that game so that by the time a remake came out, people would buy it because they'd be on their like fancy 8K TVs, and they'd be on PS5 and Series X and all this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
right.
so it'd be like, well, the technical standpoints of this don't really hold up, and it wasn't enhanced so that you could say, actually, I prefer the original. Like,
Well,
you can
yeah.
do whatever you want. It's your game, but you purposely did that then.
Well, yeah, and I think that definitely confirms it, because they went through and enhanced, I think, pretty much all of them.
Yeah, in different ways.
Yeah.
And then the Ezio trilogy came out and it had so many problems, and they fixed most of them.
Yeah, right.
AC3, though, I do want to say, is an example of a remaster where if you look through it, the technical stuff, some of it is not as good as the original.
Right.
You know, like you have to hit buildings at certain angles to climb. You have to, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of little finicky things that should have been fixed. So I'm kind of like, well, there's an example of like, do you trust Ubisoft with a full-on remaster? But if they can't handle a full-on remaster, do you trust Ubisoft with remaking a beloved game, especially now that the company isn't really who they were back when that game came out?
Well, and that's kind of my big problem with these remakes, is I don't trust Ubisoft at all with remaking these games. You know, especially if you start getting into like AC2, AC Brotherhood, things like that. I mean, they're not my personal favorite Assassin's Creed games, but I know they are basically the fan favorite Assassin's Creed games. And I honestly don't trust them at all with capturing the same magic that they had with the original games.
No.
You know, whether people love the RPG games or not, I love them, but I know a lot of people don't. I think one thing that most Assassin's Creed fans can agree on is AC1 through 3 or 4, we'll say, was kind of like the golden age of Assassin's Creed. Like, even RPG fans, you know, I think they would agree, like, yeah, AC2 and 4, all of them were fantastic games. Like, no one's, like, hating those games.
Right.
So it's like, I don't trust them with capturing that same magic again. And then, plus, I go back to the question of, what are you going to do differently? You know, to me, this reminds me of the Horizon Zero Dawn remake that, I guess, is supposedly happening. It's like, what are you going to change about this game that would make it a different game? You know,
or make it worth buying.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, at this point, just remaster the game. Update the graphics. Maybe update the FPS or something like that. But you don't really have to do a lot with these games. Like, I just went back and replayed AC1 and 2, like, within the last couple months. They're both great.
Yeah.
They both still hold up. It is 2024. I know I'll date this. They both still hold up to this day. AC1 is 15 years old. And yes, you could look at that and say, well, technically it doesn't look as good graphics-wise as Valhalla or something like that. Sure. You know, I don't personally get into the combat that much of AC1. I think it got a lot better in later games. You could pick apart this game and find aspects of it that aren't as good, but it's still a great game. And I look at it and I go, if any of these deserve to be remade, I think it's AC1, personally, just to kind of clean up some of the combat and things like that. But I don't even think it needs a remake.
No.
It's just, I think if you are going to remake one, maybe just do AC1. But I look at AC4 and it's like, why is this getting remade? There is no point to this.
Well, and that's why it bothers me that I think they purposely neglected it.
Yeah, and I think,
so that they could
exactly.
artificially create a feeling of scarcity.
Yep. And they could say, yeah, well, okay, well, you don't want to play the bad version of this game. Well, here's a new one.
Right,
this one's better.
Which this one isn't even a bad version, but they will spin it like this is so much better that you might as well not play the old one. I guarantee you, by the way, that features will be stripped. I guarantee it won't have the multiplayer mode.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of people don't care, but it was still a fun side thing that was in the game that, I'm sure they'll neglect when they bring it up, just like Last of Us did.
Yeah.
Where they just got rid of their factions multiplayer from the first one when they remade it. And my problem with this is I also feel like, I don't know, specifically with AC1, but also 4, I want to say this. With AC4, I could see you adding more to it. More islands, more treasures, more quests, things like that.
Maybe some more weapons.
And outfits.
Yeah.
And I think it would work. I do wonder why you couldn't just do that with an enhanced remaster. But maybe they don't have all the source code and assets and stuff anymore. Maybe they need to rebuild it from the ground up. You're not going to keep every single piece of code, I guess, ever. And it's also, I believe, an older version of the Anvil engine that it ran on, so maybe that would be harder to develop on if they wanted to add content other than just remastering.
Yeah.
So I could see that if you want to expand 4 a little bit by adding side stuff, the same way Metal Gear Solid 3 is doing. They're not actually altering the story, they're just adding more content, like more hunting, bigger world, things like that. Okay, I could see that to make it feel more lived in.
Mm-hmm.
With AC1, I'm kind of looking at it, you're looking at a very strict time in the Assassin's Brotherhood. Al-Mualim was a dictator, basically, when it came to the Assassins. He didn't operate like Ezio or Altair, where there was room for discussion and debate. It was, you do my will. And that kind of culminates by the end of the game where you find out why he's that way. What I'm getting at, though, is like, that doesn't leave a lot of room for deviation.
Right.
The way that Al-Mualim ran the Brotherhood in the time of AC1, it doesn't leave a lot of room for like, oh, Altair, you want to go put on a Prince of Persia outfit that goes against our, dress code here where everyone is dressed exactly the same? Go for it. Oh, you want to, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like everything you do will be kind of flying in the face of that era of the Assassins. Because it was very strict, very regimented, very military. There wasn't a lot of individuality among the Assassins. It was, you were an arm... or you were a hand of the Brotherhood. You do exactly what the Brotherhood says. Don't ask any questions. And that's why Altair's character development was so big, right? So my point is, like, what are you going to do? Add in a bunch of side missions? You're going to add in a bunch of costumes? That doesn't really fit his character. And so that's kind of my problem with, what are you going to add to AC1? All of the last 4 games, the combat is basically built off the combat of Origins.
Yeah,
so it's Origins... Odyssey, Valhalla, and Mirage. It's some kind of variation of that RPG combat. So are you going to recreate the combat from the ground up, or is it going to end up just being more like the RPG combat, and then you're just going to get a ton of people who hate this remake no matter what?
Which just begs the question, is this even needed?
Because if the games were bad, and you remade it, it'd be one thing.
Right.
That makes sense, but these games aren't like that. It's not like the tech wasn't there for what they were trying to do.
And I guess my bigger question with all these, too, is... I look at these possible remakes and it just kind of makes me sad because my brain goes to potential parts of history or parts of the world that you could be making a game surrounding, and yet we're remaking games that are already good. And that to me is really disappointing. Like, I want a game set with, the Aztec Empire or, you can pick apart any part of history or the world that you can find a game you want. And I look at it and go, well, why are we wasting our time with remaking AC4 when you could be spending that time making this game?
Right.
But instead they're going to remake AC4. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's probably going to get a lot of hate. because there are going to be people that love the original Assassin's Creed 4. It's still one of the most popular AC games still to this day. And there's going to be people that say, what's the point of remaking this? I'm just going to go play the original. There's also going to be some new fans that never maybe played it growing up and they're going to buy it. I guess maybe that's what they're hoping for. But I think altogether, most people are just going to say, what's the point of this?
Right, and what about all the side games that didn't get full development? Like, so for example, I can run through some right now. There are story-based games on the DS for Ezio and Altair.
Yeah, why not remake one of those?
Where the story could be interesting if you made it a full-on console game. Like, imagine a new Altair console game.
Yeah, why not?
Following that story.
Yeah.
And expand it and flesh it out. Imagine, Assassin's Creed, I believe it was 2 Discovery with Ezio. Imagine... what about, like, Liberation? Where it didn't get the attention that it deserved. It's a fun game. I actually made a review of it on this channel, but it could have been so much bigger and better. Even games like Xiao Jun. What if you don't want to make a new Xiao Jun story? Okay, fine. Why don't you just basically retell the story from Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, make it in a full 3D game, and expand on it?
It's disappointing. It kind of makes me sad. Like, not that these games can never be remade ever in history, but I look at them and I go, why are you remaking them now? And plus, let's say they remake 4 and 1. Are they going to stop there, or are they going to be like Disney and remake all of their movies live action version? Are they just going to go through and be like, oh, let's remake 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations. Oh, let's do 3, 4, 5,
Well, I think if they're popular, they'll go through all the popular ones. Like, why wouldn't they?
But, like, what is defined as popular? Like,
all the ones that people don't bitch about. So basically everything before AC4 and including AC4.
So you think they'll skip 2 and Brotherhood?
No.
The only 2 that people don't complain about.
No, I'm saying, I get what you're saying, but like if you look at the actual criticism of the series, it really picked up after AC4, like around Unity. Everything Unity and after was heavily criticized. Things before that were just kind of criticized. So my point is, I could see if this is popular, them just going through and milking the franchise, which I, 1, worry about. 2, I have 2 other things to add to this conversation. The AC Infinity, integration.
Yeah.
That'll be a thing. Already with Shadows, basically, even if you buy a disc, you need to do a download from the internet, which makes your disc pointless. Why bother? Why bother buying a physical of that game at that point? And then, that's the first one that's going to have that Infinity integration, which I believe they renamed to something else, actually, now.
I think it's Animus or something.
Yeah, so they renamed Infinity, but basically that's their online platform. So I want to say, first off, we know that these games will have some kind of integration with that BS, which is already annoying. Secondly, Ubisoft also isn't the company they were back then. Not in the case of what people say, like, they're woke now. They were always woke. You look at those games, they were all, like, they had Black Assassins on the Assassins, like leadership in like France during a time when like black people were persecuted and stuff in Unity. They were always a very liberal-ish group. It's just people didn't actually have the media literacy back then to notice, and I think it wasn't, as prominent. So it's not really that aspect I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that they're really greedy now. Like, really greedy.
Yeah.
Like, in the Assassin's Creed multiplayer videos, how they would make fun of Abstergo, the gaming company, and be like, everything's microtransaction, everything's this. That is literally Ubisoft now. They just became the Abstergo parody.
Right.
That's them.
Yeah, I know.
They just microtransact and nickel and dime everything.
I know. They're taking lessons from their friends Activision.
Yeah. So it's just, like, do you trust that version of the company with this?
Not at all.
That's my problem.
Also, the other thing, I know these are probably not going to be physical.
Well, even if they're
going to be all on that Animus digital database thing.
Well, even if they are, you'll get a physical disc and they'll have part of the game on, and then you need to do a download, like Shadows.
Right.
Because they can do that now, and I'm sure people will support it, and every time people like us say something about it, shills go like, oh, actually, that's not that bad.
Right.
So... when you have people, like, jumping in front of bullets for Ubisoft, that doesn't help. I don't know. Overall, it's like, these could come out and be the best thing ever.
Yeah,
but I just don't think they're necessary. And I think that there's a lot of other places in the franchise, especially side games, that didn't get the budget or the attention that they deserve, that a lot of people will never play and never have played. A lot of people are never going to play those spin-off games. Like, they're never going to play Assassin's Creed...
Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery or anything like that.
Or how about instead of remaking AC4, why don't you make a sequel to AC4?
Yeah, another pirate game that's not Stupid Skull and Bones that people have been asking for a little, like a decade now.
Yeah, they made a graphic novel.
Yeah.
That's a sequel.
Yeah.
Why don't you make that into a game?
Comic books and a
books
webtoon thing.
Yeah.
Nah. We'll just remake the game. Why not?
Yeah, because that's awesome.
I don't know. It's just frustrating, so I'm interested to hear what people say in the comments down below. Let us know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more content. We do have more Assassin's Creed videos on this channel. I think we have a playlist of over 60 of them now. So we've talked about Assassin's Creed quite a bit. And we also do have Let's Plays of these games over on Degenerate Plays, my Let's Play channel. We've played through Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, and we actually played out of order because we thought that a remake of AC1 was coming out at the time, and it never did. So we're actually starting our AC1 remake.
Remake or Let's Play?
Wait. Yeah, we're remaking the game. Let's Play. Our Let's Play. Me when they don't remake it, fine. I'll do it myself. We're going to start Let's Playing that in the next couple of days. It might actually already be out at the time this goes up. We'll have to see. But we hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to support the channel, we do have other things like a Fortnite code, which is DJAY123. You can use to help support our content in the support a creator part of the Fortnite store. We also do, of course, as well have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop, where you can use code DJAY123 for 10% off your first purchase. What we do here is we sell comic book and manga resin pieces, so coasters, keychains, and more. We get comic books and manga from stores and different people where they're damaged, they're not able to be sold. These are basically going in the trash. And instead of getting them, throwing them in a landfill and saying, I don't want to play with you anymore, what we do is we take them, we save a little bit of the art, we transform it into something new creatively, and that thing is for your home, and then we recycle the rest. So we're upcycling, recycling, all kinds of stuff over there. And my wife Jill also makes handmade beaded jewelry there too, for every occasion. Maybe your husband's grandma is having a bar mitzvah soon. I don't know. You know what? There might be a piece of jewelry there that she needs for her collection. Check it out. Hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui. Don't you have a bar mitzvah when you're 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a late one.